I've spent the better part of the last decade of my life feeling like I wasn't worthy of being loved in a relationship by a woman. Or a girl, depending on how you want to look at it. It's been a decade, and a decade in my life is quite some time. And it's weird to really look back on that. And for me, I think it was not that I don't think girls didn't like me, but I didn't necessarily like myself. It would always be, I don't like myself because of insert insecurity. And if I don't like myself because of this certain insecurity, I don't know why someone else would. And it's kind of weird to look back on, and especially in these recent years where it's been something I focused on and tried to get better at. I think when you drop all of those insecurities and you just put yourself out there, I think you'd be surprised with what the world can actually bring you. About a month ago, I moved back to the Northeast. For what it's worth, I work in baseball for most of the season in the Midwest, so I've been moving back and forth to different parts of the country now for 2 years, and starting since I graduated from college now, coming up 2 years ago this December, I work as a freelancer. I go around to schools and I broadcast some of the games. I broadcast pretty much anything they offer me. I'm pretty desperate when it comes to that, but I'm just trying to build my name. That's where it comes from. And one of these sports that I get to broadcast is volleyball. And volleyball, I've been very lucky to broadcast in Division I volleyball. I did one volleyball game in my time at school. I didn't know what I was doing. I felt very, not necessarily mad at myself, but I could feel my partner who I worked with, who did play volleyball throughout high school. I could tell every time I messed up, he was disappointed. He was disappointed in me. I was disappointed in myself. And the only volleyball game I did was sophomore year, technically volleyball match, depending on how you look at it. But I didn't do anything from my junior year, my senior fall, and then last year I get an opening, and not necessarily an opening, but I get a few games and a few matches at a Division I program, about an hour away. And now, especially this year, I've been doing volleyball. It's really funny because I have no clue how I even got to do volleyball. I still have no clue if I'm saying the right thing half the time. But I mention volleyball because that's really where this story takes place. That's where it comes from. About a month ago, I drove an hour over to the school. It was my first game back. I had just moved back to the Northeast again from the Midwest, and was getting ready to call volleyball. I was just using this game as a ease back into sorts, and in warm-ups, because I get there, try to be about an hour and a half before, one of the players from the visiting team, as they were stretching down on the court, yells up to me on my perch. I'm on a little platform about in the middle, lined up right with the net, and she asks me, yelling up, how much the arena costs. And this arena specifically is a really good arena. It's recently made, and I didn't have the answer. Looked at her like this, absolutely no clue. I looked at it from a perspective, not that, oh, she asked me, that's pretty cool. At first I didn't prep nearly enough for this game. And this girl, attractive looking, middle blocker, over 6 feet tall, if she did that, you know, like this, skyscraper essentially. And I end up doing the game. It was a straight set sweep. I didn't have to work too hard. She didn't play. I didn't look too deep into my notes on that front, but she hadn't played since the first weekend of the season. And then I drive home. I tell this story to my mom and my sister, tell it to one of my friends. And I did end up going to the school that next week to work on it. And I kept thinking about that interaction because I didn't expect anything of the sort to really take place. You know, personally, I just showed up. I wear a shirt and tie. I think she just thought I worked at the school. And she thought I worked at the school, and I as much as I didn't give her an answer, was right there for the opportunity. Keep thinking about that for about a week, and I do look on social media for the teams, especially in the lead up to the games, and her team was one of the teams I looked up to see what they were doing on social media. So I go on Instagram. Funnily enough, about a few weeks before that first game that I called for her team, or at least where her team was, she had celebrated her birthday. Go to that post on Instagram, find her account, tag her handle. Private account, I hit follow request. And now the next steps of this journey, if you want to call it that, I'm telling myself there's no way she's going to even interact. I didn't think she would end up taking this follow request. I'd probably get denied. It was a week ago. That was the only interaction I'd had with her. And this girl mentioned she was attractive. She's way out of my league when you look at it from just the side-by-side sense. The next day, I check my Instagram and she accepted the follow request. I'm shocked. I had no clue again that she would even accept she would accept. But it happens. The next day, because it was a Sunday night when she accepted. The following Sunday from the game or the match where she played, and then I ended up going back the week after and did both the games at that school that weekend. Not her school, but the main school I was there for. And then the next day, it was a Monday, beginning of the week, who is someone who overthinks any and every text I send, overthinks a message to her, and I send it to her. I go on the university's athletics website, find that arena. Sure enough, it had how much it cost to put together, how much they fundraised to put it in. It's a multi-purpose arena, so it's not just volleyball, it's volleyball, basketball. Those are the main two, at least off the top of my head, where their teams play at. And I messaged her. Keep in mind, I'm just trying to see how far that I could take it, because I didn't think I'd get this far to begin with. And I said, hey, I found out how much the arena costs, if you want to know. Send it to her in the morning. Throughout the day, as much as it pains me to say, I was checking my Instagram again and again, hoping that she responds. And she wasn't. And I kind of chalked it up to, she's busy, she's got her own life. I'm not expecting like a minute response after. That's something I'll probably talk about in my own video, or another video I should say, because that's something that when you are looking for partners in relationships, you're not going to get that from the get-go. And then probably around 5-6 p.m. I check my Instagram just to check my Instagram. I'm not even expecting her to respond, or even expecting that I'm gonna get a reply. Wasn't checking it for that reason. She responded. She said 53 million. I have no clue how she got that number of 53 million, because the athletics website said 51. I think 51.6 was the specific term. And I went, well, I saw on the website it said 51 million though. I wasn't trying to correct her. I think now in hindsight that does come off as not necessarily a mansplain, but I was trying to be like, hey, this is what I saw. I don't know where she heard the number from. And she's like, oh, thank you. And I didn't really know how to progress the conversation. I just followed up and was like, there's really no difference between 51 and 53. Because at the end of the day, it's over $50 million that you're putting into a building, putting into an athletics arena. Doesn't matter if it's 51, 53, however you want to look at it, it's over $50 million. And she said, thank you again. I think at this point she was kind of like, all right, what's happening here? And you know, that was kind of the extent of the conversation. It could have ended that way, but I decided to try and keep it going, kind of like a last second Hail Mary of sorts. Obviously, I mentioned this girl was attractive, and I said, you know, it's a shame you didn't play, because heading into the first set, you were the one player on your team that I could put name to likeness for. Technically, that was a lie, because I did know some of the players from the year before. Actually, their main attacker I needed to know, and I actually remembered her from last year, because I had called this game the year prior to this year. So now I've called this specific matchup at this specific school 2 years in a row. And left unseen. There it is. There was probably the point that I was waiting for, the point that I knew would probably come, as negative as that sounds. And in retrospect now, because it's been 3 weeks since this situation took place, mentioned about a month since the first interaction at the game was, I think back on it and I laugh at myself. I think, wow, it's pretty funny, because if I was able to go back in time to even see senior year me in high school, or like middle school me, who was starting to mentally place that barrier in his mind that girls weren't attracted in me and that girls don't look at me as a potential partner, and I tell them, hey, like, I had like a quick conversation with a Division I volleyball player who's a half a foot taller than me, and shot my shot, they'd lose their minds. They would really lose their minds. They would be like, wait, that's possible for us? Wait, we're able to do that? We're able to just send a follow out to someone that we had a conversation with a week ago, and she'll accept it, and we could, you know, get to that point? Obviously, it's not a happy ending, and something you'll learn about life. There are a lot of endings that aren't too happy on your front. It's a lot of learning experiences. It's a lot of things that you will feel sad about in the moment. But if you keep pushing and you keep asking for opportunities, what's funny is this all came about, at least in the build-up to that game a month ago. I was asking God straight up. I'm like, hey, can you give me more opportunities? Can you get me more, or allow me to have these new chances? Allow me to take these chances. I'm not saying succeed in these chances. One of the things I actually told him was, can you give me the grace to fail? Because you're gonna fail. You're gonna fail a lot in life. You're gonna fall flat on your face a bunch of times. You're gonna be left on red pretty frequently. I'm not saying to you, the viewer, that whoever you reach out to isn't gonna respond to your message, because people care about you. People will respond to your stuff. The right people will. But there are gonna be a lot of times where you just need to dive in, not expect everything, and then in the end, with the entire setup, you'll surprise yourself. So look to the future. Look at things that you want to improve on. Maybe it's for a young guy, maybe if you're like me throughout high school and college and in your early mid-20s, maybe it's something with girls, maybe it's something with your career. Maybe it's just having a good relationship with your family. I don't know your individual situations. No one knows everyone's individual situations. We hide them from each other. But just keep trying. Keep trying to push the boundary, nudge it open little by little. I'm not saying you have to kick the door down, air up the room. You don't have to do that. You don't have to go from here to here in one day. You don't have to do that. Just go little by little, learning experience by learning experience. And I think you'll surprise yourself. You'll surprise yourself with who you can talk to. You'll surprise yourself of what you're capable of. And you'll just be surprised at how far you've come.